Welcome to the Hourly Podcast. In today's episode, Steve Ransone, VP of Talent and Organizational Capability at White Lodging, shares his background and current role in hotel management. He discusses the importance of talent acquisition, talent development, and succession planning within the industry. Steve started his career as a soda jerk in an ice cream parlor and worked his way up through various roles within the hotel industry. He emphasizes the value of service, diversity, and caring for employees, and explains how White Lodging focuses on quality of life for its employees and has implemented programs like the Career Journey to support career development and employee retention. Enjoy.
This episode is brought to you by JoJo, an AI virtual recruiter powered by Sprockets. Designed for the hourly workforce, JoJo works 24/7 to source, screen, and schedule interviews with the best applicants for your business. JoJo helps reduce employee turnover and time spent hiring so you and your team can focus on other important tasks. To learn more, head to sprockets.ai/JoJo.
We're
Steve,
good.
thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so for those that are listening that don't know you,
Okay.
give us a little bit of background and what you're currently doing right now.
Okay. I am VP of Talent and Organizational Capability for a company called White Lodging. And White Lodging is a hotel management company. And basically what we do is we manage hotels for private owners. So they may be branded hotels. We have Marriott, we have Hyatt, we have Hilton. Sometimes we own them. We own quite a few of ours, but a lot of the times we manage them for outside owners. So we have about 68 hotels and a luxury guest ranch, and I'm in charge of talent acquisition, talent development, and succession planning for them. And
Love it.
I started in the hotel industry right out of high school, so about 40 years ago. And worked in an hourly job and worked my way up into management and did a lot of operations and some HR, got back into HR about 3 years ago.
So let's a lot to digest there. Congratulations on going from starting at the hourly level to what you are today. Amazing story for you and for companies and for the hotel industry as a whole. Talk to me about that first job. I mean, how old were you? What kind of work were you doing? And what did you learn kind of in those first early days?
In the hotel industry, I was 18 years old and I was a soda jerk in an ice cream parlor. Do you even know what a soda jerk in an ice cream parlor is?
I was going to ask. I have no idea. I don't even know how to spell it.
Well, it's JERK, just like it sounds.
Okay.
You know what? In the old time ice cream parlors, when you would come in, you would order a Coke or a Sprite, and the person behind the counter would squirt the syrup into your glass, and then they would pull down on what looks like a beer tap, but it was actually a soda tap, and they would fill it with soda water. And so you would make ice cream sodas and root beer floats and all kinds of stuff like that. And they called you a soda jerk because you were jerking down on the on that. So it was an old timey ice cream parlor kind of a thing. I went in there. I just wanted to get into the hotel business, wanted to go to work for Marriott because they were very small at the time, but had a great reputation. And so I took the first job they had. And what did I learn from that? I learned a lot about service. It was the first time that I'd had face-to-face interaction with customers. I learned about diversity because I was working with a lot when you're in a hotel, you have an incredibly diverse workforce. So I learned a lot about that. I learned that managers can be great, and I learned that managers can be out for themselves, and decided that I never wanted to be one of those managers that was out for himself. Because I realized that people got a lot more out of me when I felt they cared for me, when I felt like they had my back. And so and throughout my career, I've had many, many situations where that's just been absolutely the case.
Right. Well, I don't know what's more surprising or what kind of makes this conversation more abstract, that you say soda jerk or that you just referenced Marriott as a small company when you first
Yeah,
started?
it was. I think that honestly, I think they had about 30 hotels at the time.
That's insane.
Yeah,
That's insane.
9,000 now.
And somebody, and I've gotten to know you over the last few months, and someone who I've really come to respect in our conversations of the way you view the world and that you view work. You started, at the very bottom, and now you are where you are. And you strike me as somebody that could do a lot of things, right? Like go into operations, go into finance, and kind of like world was your oyster at some point. Why for you? Why talent? Like, why did you decide to go down the people route versus all of your other options?
Well, what's ironic about it is that I always like this was my dream job, and it kept evading me. It kept like it. I would go up for the position, and someone else would get it, and I agreed they were qualified, and it was the right person. And I was sitting in my office one day, and my owner, Bruce White, walked in and said, "Hey," first of all, I walked in and it scared the heck out of me. I thought he was going to fire me because he had never walked into my office, and he sat down, which is even more ominous.
Right.
And he said, "Hey, I think we need to bring this job back, and I think you're the perfect one for it. I'd like you to take it, get through this next hotel opening." And I was telling my directors of talent acquisition, talent development yesterday that I spent the entire summer saying, this is never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Like, it's just calm down. And then in August, I got a call and they said, we need you. He lived on our guest ranch in
Yeah.
Wyoming. We're scheduling a meeting where you're going to start the process. And so here I am. So yeah, I used to tell people I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none, but it's fun to come into a job too where you really don't know. Like for me, this was really refreshing because I didn't have an HR boss at the time. I was kind of a lone ranger reporting to the CEO, and Bruce would not tell me what he wanted. He said, "I want it to be big, and I want it to be something no one else has done."
Yep.
Okay. And so basically I said, okay, if I'm looking at organizational capability, this is how I believe it maps out. And this is what I'm responsible for. This is what operations is responsible for.
Right.
And yeah.
Yeah, no, super interesting, and again, congratulations on that. It's incredible, especially applying all the things you said you were passionate about, like the diversity, the management, the day to day that you've learned over the last 40 years can now apply in a really
Yeah.
cohesive way, right? And
Yeah.
so when you first entered the role, talk to us about some of the things that you knew were a priority with people that you wanted to touch on and you wanted to positively impact once you were there?
Well, we were it was 2021. The world was in a crisis situation from a
Right.
staffing standpoint.
Yep.
So I think that was number one. We had 278 management openings. To give you a reference, we've now got about 58.
Wow.
And I'd venture to say that half of them are just kind of open just to be open.
Right.
So we were really in a crisis situation and we were losing people right and left. And so I knew that we had to get the staffing right first. Ironically, we just launched a new ATS. It was not going well, so that had to be fixed. We had to do a better job marketing our position descriptions. We had to take position descriptions that were 3,000 words and knock them down to 600 and
Right.
make them mobile friendly. So really the talent acquisition piece was extremely important, but then we were also bringing back our talent development department. And so there it was pointing out to people that we weren't going to be all over the place. We were going to focus on a few things really well. And we were going to teach people how to develop people. So it was kind of laying the groundwork for that.
Yeah.
But I knew that we could not move the needle until we were staffed.
Right.
And that took a lot of education, a lot of listening. Yeah. And 3 years later, we think it worked. Well, it's still a journey. I tell people we're on a 7-year journey and we're 3 years through it. So
Right. a sprint within a marathon, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. So for, what's interesting about that, and I think a lot of people in the industry felt like hiring and recruiting and sourcing was so important during those times. And now there's more of an emphasis, not that it's gone away from those things, but on the retention piece,
Yeah.
right? Like putting your, because everyone has limited cycles, everyone has limited money, everyone has limited people, towards focusing on one part of the business. And, when you look at your HR arm at the business, what are some things you're doing from the retention side of things that you've seen be really successful?
Yeah. Quality of life is one emphasis we have, and I have to hand it to our operations folks. They set out to reduce the work week and to give our managers at least 3 weeks notice on schedules, which sounds
Mm,
crazy to the rest of the world. But in this industry
right.
and in the restaurant industry, it was very common. Your schedule was posted on Thursday. It started Saturday. So we do that with our managers as well as our hourly. So we're really focused on quality of life, but we launched back in 2021 a new associate promise. We have three promises because we have three audiences, three stakeholders: our owners, our guests, and our associates. And we
Mhm.
relaunched our associate promise to create an environment where you can be your best self and learn and grow through continuous training, development, and mentoring. And it was a really passionate undertaking for our late owner. Unfortunately, Bruce died in 23.
Mm,
But he was really passionate, and this journey that we went on was to help us to understand, what does it even mean to be your best self? And
mm,
then what do we need to do to create an environment where you can be your best self? And what we really came upon was that people want to feel cared for. They want to feel developed. And in last year, a year ago, after about a year of work, we launched our career pathing and development program. And it's called Career Journey. Includes a microsite that can show somebody all the different paths that they can take. In this industry, it's not a straight up. We say
yep.
it's a labyrinth. It's not a ladder, it's a labyrinth.
Mm,
And we tell stories. Part of it is stories of people and how they've grown their careers. And it always is kind of like me, it's all over the place. Um, but giving people a tool to show them where they can go, and then giving our managers tools to have conversations with people. And then we track everything. We track who's got a development plan. We have a requirement that every quarter our managers do a check in with their associates, and we track it. And I can go into our HRIS and I can pull Sam Smith's rap from the JW in Austin, Texas, and look at it. And I can tell whether or not his boss is pencil whipping it or whether or not it really meant something. And, we are very proud. We started off the first quarter that we launched this way of tracking our quarterly wraps. We had about 47% of our managers get a quarterly wrap. And last month it was 97% of our managers got a quarterly wrap.
wow. Wow. And
So,
is that same thing also available to the hourly workers, like the
yes.
Labyrinth? Yeah, because, one thing that I struggle with is when, in my day job, when I'm talking to operators and they're talking about the hourly workforce, it's kind of like an easy group to like poke at, right? And a lot of operators say things to me that are just abhorrent. They do the hourly workers are lazy, right? Or, oh, young people don't want to work,
Oh, no.
or you've heard all the things that I'm sure that I've heard. And
Oh, yeah.
I am a firm believer, and like you, am passionate about, if you build the right opportunities, that people will leverage them,
Yeah.
right? And when I say the right opportunities, I don't mean just like some large action or long, esoteric thing where it's like, oh, we'll pay for your college. It's like,
Right.
but if you give them steps in order to do it, and you
Yeah.
show them a pathway with good process, people, and technology, people will in fact take advantage of it, and they will grow within your organization. Because sometimes I'm talking to these operators and say, well, why would we provide that? Nobody's going to do it anyway. I'm like, well, I think you're wrong. And so speak a little bit to that, Steve, on like you, from your experience, maybe even just one person or I don't know if you have a bunch of data or just
Well,
one story of like hourly worker leveraging a tool like this or a pathway program like this and
yeah.
getting out of the hourly workforce.
It's really fun you bring that up. So we do track internal promotion.
Yep.
When I came into this role, one of the things that we had a way of looking at where people wanted to be. Like I could pull a report that showed me a front desk manager that wanted to be a front office manager or an
Mm.
assistant GM that wanted to be a GM. I could not tell you where an hourly associate wanted to become a manager.
Yep.
So one of the first things we did was we took our career goals and we made it available to our hourly associates, and it's
Mm.
available on your phone anytime you want to update it, so that I can see who wants to be where, and I can pull those reports and I can get them to people. But we have had I can get really emotional. I was actually on a call this past week. We're redoing rolling out a standardized interviewing process, and we pulled together a group of HR leaders and GMs to help us do it in a way that they're going to use. And one of the GMs was saying that whenever I do my hourly wraps, I always have the Pathfinder pulled up, which is this career pathing tool to look at their current job and then where do they want to be, and then we talk about how we're going to get you the skills. So she's already won, and our managers have been extremely positive about it. We had a hotel in Austin that had a kind of a career journey fair kind of a thing where they invited people in and they had food and they talked through how to use the platform. And they had 3 people within 2 months that either switched jobs or moved into management roles. 2 of them moved into management roles. One of them was a hostess in the restaurant and had never considered sales and decided she wanted to go into sales and then became a sales coordinator. So they had specific examples of that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things. As a matter of fact, our owner's son, our late owner's son, Otis, is in charge of the career journey because he knew that it was such a passion of his dad's. And so the more and more that we can gather those stories
Yeah.
and pause. But I'm always pretty amazed. I had one of our best people developers once said in our rollout class, she said, folks, I know I look calm on the outside, but inside I am dancing. She said, this is my love language,
Yep.
and this is going to make a difference. So yeah, we've got some great stories of that, and people that just realize I'm not in the right place, so I'm going to go different way.
Yep.
So
yeah, super interesting, right? And it's so inspiring to see, your passion on this issue because like in this space, in restaurants and just the hourly workforce generally in hotels and just about everything it touches, there's great agents like you that I think you associate, and I don't want to speak for you, but a lot of your core purpose is somebody comes to you like coal leaves a gem, right? Or diamond, whatever that analogy is, or
yeah,
you get out of the hourly workforce, right? And through your company, you're able to help them live not just day to day, but lead a really good life, right?
yeah,
And that's important to you. And then you have the bad agents, where I feel like kind of view the hourly workforce as a, kind of said bluntly, like a microcosm of serfdom, which is you come in, you do the job, there's not room for advancement, and they're kind of incentivized because of turnover and other things to keep you in that same role forever, right? And those aren't people I associate with. I'm sure that those aren't people you associate with, but it's really inspiring is just seeing you and your company not only talk the talk but walk the walk, right? Having programs designed, being thoughtful from when you first started, which is you wanted to get the job description right, you wanted to get the hiring motion right, like you wanted to interject human behavior
right.
into all these various things, and that ends or continues on with the career path, career journey. So I love that. Really inspiring, really good stuff there. I also love how you kind of talk about quality of life over everything else. I'd never heard of somebody talk about that as like a main perk of
Yeah.
we want to help with the quality of life, not the quality of your work or your quality of the 9 to 5, but it feels like everything else around that, right? Talk to me about like why that's important to you. Is it good business? Is it good person? Is it a combination? How do you think about that?
Oh, I think it's hugely good business, but I think it
Hmm.
also is the purpose. I mean, why are we here in life but to make things a little bit better for people around us and the people that follow us? But I part of our discussions around how do we create an environment where you can be your best self also stretches outside the
Right.
company, because somebody can't be their best selves with us if they can't be their best selves outside. And that's why we've taken a lot of we have a really good benefit system. We have some really innovative benefits, but people didn't know about them. And so part of my initial kind of pitch to Bruce White was that we need to do a better job with that. But
Hmm.
then we also need to look at where we can make improvements and what the ROI is. Um, but if you were to go on our website, one of the things that you'll find is there are three videos on there where we did stories about what our associates do in their personal time, and they're really pretty amazing. One of them takes old books and makes sculptures, incredible sculptures out of old books, and one does balloon arches and stuff. They're incredible. One of our GMs is an axe thrower. She scares the hell out of me. But yeah, we get out to the ranch and I'm like, Katie, I'm not getting anywhere near you.
Yeah, right.
Um, but we've really tried to emphasize that that's extremely important.
Hmm.
We've also tried to emphasize one of the conversations that we've really had to reframe is that we are such a competitive company and we're such a driven company that we're always looking for the person that wants to do something next instead of really paying attention to those people that are happy where they are, and we
Hmm.
call them our rock stars. Kim Scott, who wrote Radical Candor, had this term called rock star, and you need your rocks. And people are not always rocks.
Right.
Sometimes they just need time. It's a mom with a new baby, or it's a dad who's got to take time to get his kids to soccer and can't take that next role, but in 5 years they're ready to go. So
Right.
we really want to pay attention to them as well. And certainly in our talent reviews, it used to be, high potential in GM track because we had to look at a certain training program, but now we've added that rock stars. And it's really interesting to have conversations with people where they get like really pumped up about that. Like, I'm so glad that we are recognizing that not everyone wants to move up,
Yeah.
but we can still enrich their jobs. We can still find them training. We can send them on task force to a property. We can give them a project. And that's something that we emphasize in the development plans, because we're really trying to get away from training as an event and more around training as developing, and how do you create development plans that take advantage of experiences and on the job and projects. Um, and so we've really emphasized that. Another thing we've done, AJ, is we've really looked at, we just launched we just launched a new not learning platform, but learning content supplier that
Yep.
is very well known. And part of that decision was that we could offer 500 courses through our LMS that were everything. Like, so you want to learn how to play the guitar, you can get it here.
Hmm.
But then an additional, 16,000 that they can access through their account. And that's available to all managers, supervisors, any hourly that wants that can get it.
Hmm.
So we're really looking at too, and really trying to emphasize that, look, if you use it to do those things, to learn those things that are going to make your life richer, because there's a lot out there
Right. Right.
that we can
Yeah,
do.
I love the full or the saying, and my dad used to say it to me is, well, what happens if we don't train or if we
Right.
train our people and they leave? And the other
Yeah.
person says, what happens if we don't train them and they stay?
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
But just so much to dig in there. We are coming up on time, Steve. Just based on the conversation and the amount of notes I have on this piece of paper, we're gonna have to do a part two, part three, part four, all these good things. But if somebody, and I'll put the link in the description of all of the podcast. But if somebody wants to learn more about the work that you're doing, the company, where should they go?
They can just go to whitelodging.com, and that
Whitelodge.com.
will We're very proud of what our marketing and communications people have done with that website. And it's just they'll learn a lot about our people, about our executive team, about what we're doing, where we are.
Perfect. Well, again,
Yeah.
thank you, Steve, for coming on the podcast. Love today's.
Thank you, AJ. Have a
Thanks.
great one.